Vouchers are certificates of government funding for alternative schooling. These include charter schools, private schools, Montessori schools, parochial schools, homeschooling, and more. They are popular among those who want freedom of choice for their children. Concerned parents who see their children being poorly educated and brainwashed want viable options for worthwhile schools. And why shouldn't they? There are multiple indicators that alternative schooling is needed. First, a significant indicator of a failing education system is the strong desire for school vouchers by large numbers of parents. Second, numerous charter schools, private schools, parochial schools, homeschooling programs, and more are available. Third, there are long applicant lists for charter schools offering alternative student education. Whose interests are the schools promoting? There is enormous pressure from enemies of the charter schools, including teachers' unions, school administrations, politicians, intellectuals, the Department of Education, and special interest groups who want to keep the current underperforming school system in place. These groups bitterly fight against alternative schooling, despite overwhelming empirical evidence showing powerful, real-world benefits from alternative education options. They argue that money for school vouchers funnels money away from struggling public schools. This argument holds no water since public schools have had over half a century to fix the structural issues. The facts, data, and empirical evidence clearly show this hasn't occurred and has worsened dramatically. Having alternatives is a legitimate and viable option for parents concerned about good education for their children. This begs the question, whose interests are the enemies of the charter schools promoting, and why? The current school system is failing miserably. Opponents of charter schools and homeschooling aren't concerned about students' education. They neglect or ignore the importance of preparing students to become high-functioning adults with competent skill sets to make them productive members of society. In other words, enemies of alternative schooling are failing miserably in a profound obligation to educate our young, and they don't want that to change. Whether by lack of competence, nefarious behavior, or a combination, the students are the ones who pay a terrible price for this dysfunctional education system. Enemies of alternative schooling willingly sacrifice children's education for money, power, status, and ideologies. They provide two primary arguments to the charter school advocates. First, all children have equal abilities. Second, every child needs the same education, even though the current education system is failing. Let's address each of these arguments. First, no one is equal, not even in families. Where we were born, who our parents are, the resources our parents have, where we go to school, who our friends are, and how much attention and love we receive as young people varies greatly. Beyond families, age, sex, IQ, race, culture, and multiple other factors help define who we are. There are countless other differences as well. Second, personal abilities also differ dramatically. Intelligently designed education has a flexible curriculum accommodating students with different skills and skill levels. Some children have strong math and science abilities. Other children have strong creative talents. Still, others have excellent athletic abilities. Some have to strive to keep up. The list of differences in human beings is inexhaustible. Trying to make everyone equal is wrong and doomed to failure. Tailoring a flexible education system to provide the highest quality guidance to all students should be the goal of any responsible development system. Life is unfair, get over it, and tests measure the results. Thomas Sowell. Vouchers, charter schools, and other alternative schools provide viable alternatives to help students learn, grow, and prosper. Competition with the current school systems is also positive. Schooling competition will force schools to get better or lose even more students to alternative education. Either way, the students win, and isn't that the most important point of education? Do what I say, not what I do. Too many people preach what they are unwilling to follow themselves. Numerous politicians, intellectuals, and others who bitterly argue against vouchers while promoting public schools are using private schools for themselves and/or family members. They are elites who think they are better than others, deserve better than others, and fight to hold others down. This is hypocritical and just plain wrong. For example, in the book The Democrat Party Hates America, author Mark R. Levin states on page 221, "Of course, the hypocrisy of Democrat Party leaders who oppose school choice runs deep. Barack Obama, Pete Buttigieg, Beto O'Rourke, Gavin Newsom, J.B. Pritzker, Elizabeth Warren, Nancy Pelosi, and Joe Biden, to name a few, have all either attended private schools, sent one or more of their children to private schools, or both. Indeed, Biden recently tweeted, "When we divert public funds to private schools, we undermine the entire public education system. We've got to prioritize investing in our public schools so every kid in America gets a fair shot. That's why I oppose vouchers." Yet another Biden lie. Any political party individual, whether he or she is a Democrat, Republican, or other party, who opposes school vouchers but uses alternative education for oneself or family members, needs to own up to the hypocrisy of their actions. Fighting the good fight. Vouchers give children a chance at a good education when public schools are severely lacking, sometimes failing. A telling example of the power of learning at a charter school is from the book Charter Schools and Their Enemies by Thomas Sowell on page 80. An observer who had been a senior fellow of the Manhattan Institute visited a Success Academy charter school in Harlem and found a very different schedule from that depicted in anti-charter school rhetoric. In one room, the chess team prepared for the national tournament. In another, students worked on the school newspaper. Down the hall, students rehearsed a musical. In other rooms, students worked on art projects or learned computer coding. Success's debate and chess teams have begun to win national awards. There are many examples of students doing better in charter schools than in regular schools. In the book Social Justice Fallacies, Thomas Sowell states on page 25, "In New York City, for example, in school year 2017-2018, there were dozens of places in low-income minority neighborhoods where public charter schools and traditional public schools, serving the same local community, were housed in the same buildings. When Black and Hispanic students in both kinds of schools took the same statewide test in mathematics, the charter school students achieved the official proficient level in mathematics more than 6 times as often as children of the same ethnicities in traditional public schools housed in the very same building. These are huge disparities within the same groups, so that neither race nor racism can account for these huge differences, nor can culturally biased tests. There are multiple positive ways to teach students academic and real-world skills, yet the enemies of alternative education are formidable. Fighting the good fight for young minds is not only worthwhile, but it is also a major battle for the future of our country. The failing of the secondary schools is only part of the problem. Higher-level education has major structural problems as well.